There are two sides to every story. The National Broadcasting Company presents the vivid drama of life itself. Broadcasting's original program of mediation, the court of human relations. And now the man who has familiarized millions of people with the idea of mediation helped to make it a creative force in American life. A.L. Alexander.
You know, it has always seemed to me that human nature, the study of people, is far more revealing than the textbook or the laboratory. And the struggle of every human being for a measure of emotional as well as economic security, this is the great experience and the chief interest of human life. Now, here in this attempt to settle a dispute through mediation is an insight into some of the hopes and aspirations of people clouded by shadows of conflict and misunderstanding. We welcome the members of our board whom these people have elected to accept as their judges in these matters of controversy. The distinguished American novelist, Miss Fannie Hurst. Noted consultant and authority in the field of adult education, Dr. Ralph Emerson Davis. And one of the outstanding contributors of our time to public education in the humanities, minister of famed Riverside Church, Dr. Robert J. McCracken. When the sweet language of courtship is over and the mystic words are uttered, I pronounce you husband and wife, the actual conditions of marriage begin, and the real meaning behind it begins to make itself apparent. Now, after what's developed here, do you see any hope for this relationship? Like so many marriages, it was once intended to be a source of perfect joy. Now, here is the complainant.
Mr. Alexander, I have one question to ask. Why? There are some men that are drunken. There are a lot of men that gamble, take narcotics, abuse their wives, beat their children, and men that deceive their wives. I do not gamble. I am not a drunken man. I never abuse my wife. I don't beat my children. I never take narcotics. And never in my life did I ever deceive my wife. I want to know one answer why my wife slammed the door on my face. Why?
If my husband wants an answer why, there is not one answer, but 1,001 answers. It would just take all night to tell it. All I can say is I was a very young girl when I got married.
Yes, and would you talk a little louder so that the mediators can hear you? You were a very young girl at that time, and...
My husband lavished me with beautiful gifts, and he swept me off my feet. But I soon realized that it was all a sham. It just meant nothing.
Did he have any idea of how to be a husband?
He had no idea of being a husband or a father. He then lavished my children with beautiful gifts, too. I cannot live with a man that thinks he can buy everything with money.
And do you feel that that's the only way he knows how to win affection?
That is the only way, by material things.
And do you want to hear what the board says about this?
I would like to hear what the board says after they hear from him.
Well, I think it would be extremely helpful if we heard the background of this situation. Would you tell us just how you met your wife?
15 years ago, I was working as a bellhop in a summer hotel, and this girl was a guest. I seen her for the first time, and I said, gee, she's a pretty girl. I went over to her, and I asked her if she wanted an ice cream soda. After that, we went steady, and we always went to the best shows. I took her in cabs. We went to the best places to eat. There was nothing too good for this girl.
Did you fall in love with her?
I fell in love with her with my heart and soul.
At what point?
When she was sweet 16. And we went to the best places, and I bought her beautiful gifts. When I bought her shoes, I bought her 3 or 4 pair at a time. I bought her stockings, a dozen pair. There was nothing too good for her because I still love her and always will love her. There's not a thing in the world I won't do for her.
You say that you showered her with gifts? Tell us about that.
When she went to California, I sent her a white coat. I could have sent the coat either parcel post or Railway Express. Instead, I sent it Air Express. I sent her many beautiful gifts, Air Express. Lots of times the package used to cost me more than the present inside. It wasn't the present, but it was the idea that my wife should have beautiful things because I do love her and still love her.
Did you, was this the first girl that you were ever interested in or was ever interested in you?
I had plenty of girls, blondes, brunettes, and redheads. In fact, I can give you a few names. There was Mildred, there was Minnie, there was Sylvia, there was Gloria. In fact, I had a very rich girl named Sophia. All I had to do was say yes, and I would have married her. But no, I loved this woman. I never bought her love. Sincere from my heart, I loved her.
Well, now, what kind of a honeymoon did you have?
We had a wonderful honeymoon. We went to Atlantic City. She was never there before. In fact, when we were coming home, we stopped by a little window. There was a bathing suit in the window. She said, "Gee, Billy, I like it." And I went inside and I bought the bathing suit, not asking how much money it was, but I just bought it for her to make her happy.
Yeah. Now, what kind of a wedding did you have?
We could have had a simple little wedding, but instead I gave her a wedding which every girl dreams of. In fact, I had a trousseau from Lords and Taylor's made to order for her, and also her wedding gown was made to order. There was nothing but the best for her, and I still love her.
Yeah. And when you married her, what happened? And she went to the, she have a baby?
When we had our first baby, she had it in a private room. I put a radio there and a telephone there. And then I came home one day, and I seen her washing the clothes, and I looked at her hands. They were all shriveled. I sent up a washing machine, and I also sent up a television set.
What did you pay for the television?
$800. And
Was that an unusual thing?
and nobody had a television at that time.
How many years ago was that?
That's almost 12 years ago. 12 years ago. And in fact, I came up the house one day and the phone rang. She had to leave the baby down. So the next day I put 2 phones in the house, one by her bed and one in the kitchen, so she didn't have to get out of bed to answer the phone. I did everything in my power because I love this girl. I never bought her love.
Well, and now what has she done?
And after all this, my wife slammed the door on my face. Is it a crime to be good to your wife and good to your children? I never bought my children's love either.
Well, your husband states that you were married 14 years, and apparently it's only recently. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
That you had any trouble?
Well, that simply isn't true. After we were married, I soon realized that it was a mistake. But what was I to do? I felt that we were married, the children had then come. I had to put up with it as long as I could.
Well, what finally happened?
Well, finally, there was a violent quarrel. Actually, he put me out. And then I felt, well, that was it. There was no sense in going on. It was just a farce.
Well, what about these gifts? He says he gave you a lot of gifts.
Ask me what had happened to them. He's either sold them or pawned them. He's thousands of dollars in debt, and I have nothing to show for it. Absolutely nothing. Nothing is left.
Can I answer that question?
In just a moment. Now, what about we're going to give you all the time you want to tell your story. You feel you have a good case, do you, that you're right? Absolutely right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Well, now, what about these reasons? You said there isn't one reason, there's 1,000 reasons.
This man has no conception of love or marriage or being a husband or father. He is unbelievably self-centered and selfish. His influence on the children are horrible. His personal habits are very bad. He has actually made a nervous wreck of me. And he just thinks material things are so very important. Nothing else matters.
Well, have you any respect for him?
I have no love and respect for him. I have lost that a long time ago.
Do you love your wife?
I love her with all my heart and soul. And I always will.
How old are your children?
5, 8, and 10.
Do you have their names in the telephone book?
I have all my 3 children's names listed in the telephone book. The reason why I put their names in the telephone book is to advertise to everybody that we had 3 children and not to show off to anybody.
Well, do I understand that they received jury summonses?
They certainly did. One day we get a letter that the 3 of them had to appear on a jury. In fact, they were a little small in carriages, and I went down there and I explained it to the man. He said he was sorry.
Yeah. Well, now, you don't care what it cost. You don't care what anything costs,
No.
do you? Everything the best?
The best. Nothing but the best for my wife and for my children.
You ride in cabs all the time?
In fact, we still go in cabs.
Box seats?
Box seats and everything. Every time we go to a show, we go in box seats.
You're separated from your wife now, aren't you?
Yes, sir. And I want to come home and make my wife happy and make the children happy. They should have a father and a mother, and it should be a happy home instead of a miserable, unbroken home. And I still love you. I never bought your love. I never bought my children's love. Everything I give them is for the best.
Well, even though you're separated from your wife...
I still pay my wife's bills, and I give her money, and I take the children out, and I buy them their clothes, and I give her, and everything, because I still love her.
Well, now, yesterday...
Yesterday...
Yeah, what did you give her yesterday?
Yesterday was Mother's Day. So I asked her if she wanted to go with the children and they should buy her Mother's Day's presents. So instead, I took the children, and I said, go buy Mommy presents. We bought
well, don't go into all that detail. What did you buy your wife?
I bought her a sweater set. I bought her stockings, bought a little coat, shoes, slippers, and jewelry, and a box of candy.
Buy her anything else? That's all. Now, how about the children? When you visit the children, do you take them out?
Take them out, take them to eat, take them to the movies. When we go to the movies, they buy anything they want. I never say no to them. No matter how much it costs, I still don't say no. I give them the best of everything, and when they go to eat, the food is no object and the money is no object. They eat the best.
Now, let's understand exactly what happens here, because the board wants to know just what type of father you are and whether or not you're a good father. Now, when you take the children out and they have a snack to eat, for instance, what did they have for dinner yesterday? How old's the youngest child?
5 years old.
What did he have for dinner?
Mitchell had spaghetti and meatballs, he had ice cream, he had a hamburger, he had a soda, and anything else his heart desires.
Do you have any apple pie?
Apple pie after that. I never say no to them. Never in my life.
French fried potatoes?
French fried potatoes, no matter where we go. In fact, I bought a whole watermelon, so they should all have a piece of watermelon. That is not buying love.
But after dinner, and then you went to the movies, didn't you?
We went to the movies.
And what did you have there?
They had popcorn, ice cream, candy, nothing but the best candy, and anything they want, I always give them. I never say no.
Never
to
the
them.
cheap candy?
Never the cheap. Nothing is cheap.
And when you're in the movies, I understand that there are machines of various kinds in some movies in the lounge. What happens there?
They come over to me, Daddy, I need money. I give them right away, buy whatever you want. In fact, every Friday I bring them home 30 to 40 joke books. They like joke books. I bought it. It's almost 12 years that I bought these joke books since. In fact, my wife used to read them, and I never object to anything. I always bought them with my heart and soul, not because I bought their love or I'm not a father. I love them, and they say to me, Daddy, why don't you stay home? We love you. You cannot buy children's love or your love.
Well, you say that you buy 30 or 40 a week. That must amount to a great many comic books. How many comic books? You have a library of them at home?
Had about 4,000 to 5,000 joke books.
At home?
At home. Yes.
All kinds?
All kinds.
I see. I did want to ask you what you got in the lounge of the movie there. What do they get out of that? Out of the slot machine? Candy,
soda, things for their mother. Whatever they want, they get out. Whatever they have.
May I say something?
Yeah.
He takes the children out and all, but there was a time of about 10 years when they hardly ever saw him. He had worked for 7 days. I have not gone for a walk with him alone for 10 years, no less to the movies. He has not taken me out for 10 years.
Well, the point is that you do treat your children well. Is that your idea of treating your children well?
Just like every father does.
Yes. And did you care anything about the money when you bought this food or purchased gifts for your wife?
No, never. Never quibbled. It was from my heart and soul.
Well, Miss Hurst, how do you feel about this?
Well, offhand, my first impulse is to protect these children from the love of their father. I also would like to ask an initial question. May I ask, you talk as if you had the income, sir, of a millionaire. Does this money come to you this easily that you can lavish it and think only in terms of things that you can touch? This woman has a hungry spirit, if you know what I mean. You probably don't from what you've been saying. And it's pathetic, because I'm sorry about you. But you and this woman are 10,000 miles apart. You're on different planes. You're speaking a different language. You have been describing your life and your generosities only in terms of money. What you have bought, what you have bought. There has been no expression except that you love this woman, and I believe you do. And I'm sorry about this great disparity. But it seems to me that there is an incompatibility there. that the chemistry of it, it's just there. You're 1,000 miles apart, and it would be folly for me to say to you, change that chemistry. This woman and you are not on the same plane of existence. You mean well, I firmly believe. She can't help what's happening to her. It seems to me that the solution that you're now trying is better, and I say that with great reluctance. But I couldn't say to you two people, you can live a life of compatibility, because you are just what she says. You don't realize, sir, to what extent you have talked and what you just fed your children is enough to make my hair stand up straight. And that is an example of your mistaken largesse, and I don't know how you can correct it. I think you could correct what is happening to you far more easily than what has happened to your wife. I wish I had something more constructive to say.
Well, sir, we'd like to ask you a few more questions, if we may. Do you want to answer some more questions?
There's one thing I want you to know. I love my wife. Whatever I give my wife comes from my heart and soul.
Sure it does.
It's a long time, 6 months already. I haven't been home. I do everything in my power to make up to my wife. I never say no. I love my children, I love my wife. Whatever I give my children, whatever I give my wife, comes from my heart. I do work, I make a nice dollar.
Well, now, we'd like to ask you a question, if we may. What do you do for a living?
I work as a waiter.
Well, now, as a waiter, you're a pretty good waiter, aren't you?
I'm considered a good waiter. I'm a hustler.
What do you mean by that?
A hustler is a fella that goes out, knows how to take care of customers. When the customer sits down, he makes sure that the chair is clean before she sits down, or he does. Gives them plenty of water, bread and butter.
Well, give us an example. Here's a customer, sits down, and you approach them.
First thing I do is ask how they feel. The first smile is the best smile. Ask them, how do you feel? What would you like to have? Your steak medium rare? Would you like to have some dessert? And make sure the coffee is very hot. And as long as they're contented, I'm happy. My customer comes more important than my boss, or if the place was burning down, I take care of my customer. If my customer's happy, my boss is happy. The same thing with my wife. I want to go back to my wife. I love my wife. As long as my wife and children are happy, I'm happy.
Dr. McCracken?
This is one of the most pathetic stories I think I've ever heard.
It's a true story, so from my heart.
And I wonder if you can possibly ever have heard of something that Oscar Wilde said once about people who know the price of everything and the value of nothing. Because it is literally the case that you've been talking about money, 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 and about things, things, things. And your conception actually of goodness is a narrow conception, because those children of yours will grow up with a wishbone where their backbone should be. They'll be softened, they'll be spoiled for life. And of course all the time something is happening to your wife by this materialistic kind of kindness. Now, I haven't any doubt that there are a lot of people, women, folk, who might think this would be wonderful to have a husband who was such a magnificent provider. But don't you see that there's something else that you have to provide, both for her and for the children? And is it too late to try to make the change? Because I sense affection and feeling. And it's possible that in your wife's case, while she speaks of love and respect as having gone, that they could be reborn. If you could take a broader view of your responsibilities, both as a husband and as a parent.
Dr. Davis?
Dr. McCracken quoted from a writer. I'm reminded that Edgar Guest says that it takes a heap of living to change a house into a home. And this would seem to be a splendid illustration of that fact. We all here in America sometimes think that we are very materialistic and we live by things, but finally we don't, do we? We live by inside things. Of course, we want televisions, and we want good beefsteaks, and we want good restaurants and all that sort of thing. We want automobiles, but we want something more than that. If all of those things were dumped into our laps tonight, if we right here tonight were given the most palatial home in New York City, But if nothing else were there, if there weren't people there, if there weren't friends there, if there wasn't love there, if there wasn't a fine, rich, loyal family, we wouldn't be happy at all. And until you find some way, and sometimes it's pretty tricky, to say through your gifts, through your television set, through your box seats at the theater, something about love and warmth, until you can set up enriching and fulfilling conversations and do things together and make each person in the family circle feel that they're important and you really regard them as very, very important, until you somehow create love. You don't have a marriage and you don't have a home. And your job is to work out how you can say through all of these things, probably without these things at all, the thing that this wife wants to hear from you, and also the thing which your children want to receive even more than these material things.
How about that?
I face my wife now and the board and Mr. Alexander with all my heart and soul. I never bought your love and I never bought my children's love. I love you. I'm asking you to forgive me and let's go home together.
Yes, but that isn't the point. See, that you've been doing that all the time. You've tried, apparently, we all believe you're sincere, you've tried to communicate this love, but the communication hasn't gone over. There's a block there somewhere. You don't speak the right language. Now, somehow, you've got to learn to communicate to her this feeling of love and loyalty that you have, and we think possibly that you can learn a new language.
Does the respondent think this can happen?
Oh, wait.
Hmm?
Yes, well, suppose you, what question do you want to ask the board? Just ask them. What questions have you had in mind? What question did you ask me? You, yes. You're the husband.
I will do everything my wife says. I will always listen to her. I love my wife. I love my children. I still love them and always will love them. And I want this to come to...
Well, you feel that it's no crime to do what you do?
It's no crime to be good to your wife and children, and I still haven't received the answer. Why? I'm willing to do anything she says. I love her with all my heart and soul and not from my pocket. I love my children. The reason why I buy them things is because I love them. I don't buy them things.
This good man isn't reaching this woman at all. He breaks your heart. I just pity you with all my soul.
I think
but
you're
I think that mere
children.
words to you people to compromise together when you are oil and water is a great injustice to you both. This is a good man. He can find a woman who will appreciate what he has to offer. You want what he hasn't got to give you. This man, I must reiterate, I don't think we should superimpose false hopes on you two people, both right in your way. And this man, who is so sincere, can't reach you. And I think to try and get together two violently oppositional natures after all these years is only to kindle false hopes.
Does
Well,
the respondent feel this?
Beg pardon?
Does the respondent feel this? Does the wife feel this?
Feel what, Dr. McCracken?
That it is impossible to
Do you feel
achieve
it's impossible?
understanding?
Definitely.
Could not he change his attitude to you
He
so
has
that...
gotten worse in doing those things and better. I have lost my love and respect for him. There's no more feelings. He's never given me love, and I can't give any more. I can't give anything.
Well, I think it should be emphasized
I have three...
that the issue here is not one of divorce. I think that should be made clear, but of separation, of continued separation, which is what the man has been complaining about. Now, it's the function of this board, I should make clear, not to separate people, but where possible to bring people together. But the board agrees that there is no force on earth, law, religion, or anything else, that can compel a person to love or respect another, or with love and respect lacking, force or coerce anyone to live with another. Now, as to the man's question why, he wants an answer. Is it a crime to be good? He says he hasn't got the answer.
He isn't being good.
The clear answer, in the opinion of this board, if I understand it, is that this man has a very limited and a very narrow view of just what constitutes goodness. That there is human kindness and that there are good works that have nothing whatever to do with buying things. The man does visit the home and the children, and I think it's the feeling of this board that with time, if he doesn't try to force things, perhaps, I say perhaps, an affinity will grow between this husband and wife, which is now lacking. But certainly, they recommend no change at the present time. As we express our thanks to our mediators and bring this session of the Court of Human Relations to a close, may the hope be expressed that all resentment will be withdrawn and that the parties to controversy will see the wisdom of compliance. Said a wise man when asked to comment about some phase of life, "The longer I live, the only thing I can safely predict about life and people is that they are unpredictable."